Good
Morning.
afternoon.
Evening.
You never know where it might be where you are. Oh, we just can't wait to get started today. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Let's Talk About It podcast, vodcast, multicast, all the cast,
Weird cast.
weird cast. You just never know what it may be. But we're just so glad you're tuning in and listening. We've been talking over the last, how long? Several weeks about the importance of the church. And I think we've done a pretty good job of laying out what the importance of the church is, especially those that we've been talking. We have as our special guest today, we have on the end Michelle Aiken, we have Stephanie Harriet, we have Rachel Foster, we have Nelson Foster, Zach Butcher's behind the camera. And we're going to be talking again about the importance of the church, what it means to you. And I know we always talk about, well, we're not going to read it again. But this may be the first episode that you're listening to, so I want you to understand. Well, of course, I want you to understand kind of where we're coming from, and we're basing this out of Acts chapter 2, beginning in verse number 42, where the Bible tells us, and they continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine and fellowship, in the breaking of bread, and in prayers. Then fear came upon every soul, and many wonders and signs were done through the apostles. Now all who believed were together and had all things in common, and sold their possessions and goods, and divided them among all as anyone had a need. So continuing daily in one accord in the temple, breaking bread from house to house, they ate their food with gladness and simplicity of heart, praising God and having favor with all the people. And the Lord added to the church daily those who were being saved. Clearly states they went to church. Matter of fact, clearly states in this passage of Scripture they went to church every day. So when people say, well, let's just do it like the apostles used to do it, I'm like, okay, we'll go to church every day. And then they go, oh, wait, what? We just talked about, having church at home. I said, well, that's not, nowhere does the Bible tell us that they just had church at home. The Bible says that they went to the temple daily, which was the church, and then they met in one another's homes at night and had the Lord's Supper and broke bread together and had fellowship. So what does the church matter? Why is the church important? Why do we bother with church? And I want to say this, and then I want to let somebody else talk, since everyone's being, these are the most talkative people I know on planet. And it's like they're all just sitting there watching me talk. Anyway, but I think that why would we want to not go somewhere together where you will absolutely find some of the best people? Now, yes, not everybody that goes to church lives out a good personality every day. You have those that are quiet. You have some that are mean. I mean, you ever been in Walmart and have somebody almost take you out and then yell at you like it's your fault? Well, that doesn't stop you from going to Walmart. You ever gone to McDonald's and they get your order wrong? Doesn't stop you from going to McDonald's. So why is it the church one of those places that we so scrutinize everybody that if everything's just not perfect, well, I'm just going to go back.
Right.
Well, I tried church. Well, no, you probably didn't really. And if you did, that's not why we go to church. I don't go to church for the church. I go to church for the Lord.
That's right.
The church is just kind of a blessing. And yeah, of course we can have those moments in church where, things don't go right. Sometimes someone says something, maybe they are wanting to be mean. It happens. But I want to go back to the fact that when we say, well, the church hurt me, or I didn't like the church, or whatever, well, the church killed Jesus. And he still went.
Yeah.
You can't get really much more hurt than that.
I had a conversation with somebody today that they were like, I just don't want to go to church because there's hypocrites there. I said, well, the ratio of hypocrites in a church and the world, church is the safer place to be.
Absolutely. And that's always been the excuse. But it's like, what is a bigger hypocrite? A person at church that maybe behaves wrong, or a person that says they're a Christian and don't go to church?
Right. Come on.
Tell you explain that to me. What's the bigger hypocrite than the one that says, I love Jesus Christ, but I refuse to go to the church that he started?
Or I refuse to listen to what he says to do.
Well, that's a whole series in its own for sure. It's true. It drives you nuts. I don't have a bit of problem with a person that's not saved. My biggest pet peeve is those that say they're saved and then just live. And it's not those that profess to be a Christ follower and then make mistakes. I mean that's always a possibility. And when Jesus saves us, our flesh doesn't always follow suit right away. There's things sometimes we spend time working on stuff, trying to fix stuff and trying to get better. It's the ones that want to say I'm saved, but yet say sin is not a problem. I can do whatever I want to and be okay. That's the people that drive me up the wall.
Yeah.
But again, that's a different. That's a different anger session because I'll need therapy after that one. But so it's good to have. And I think they were the first ones to volunteer.
I was.
But I don't know if they'll be the last ones. I don't know if there's really any.
There's a couple
Are there a few others? Okay, good. Because we'll kind of go with this as long as they do. But I've started off. You want me to ask my first question? I've asked the first question every single time.
Sure.
You want me to continue with that vein?
Why not?
Okay, because why I mess
Well, if
something
it's
up
not
now?
broke, why fix
It
it?
ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay, so for you guys, the question has been that I've asked first because I've been intrigued by all the answers. This has actually come up at work in some conversations as we've talked about the walk with Jesus and a relationship with Jesus. So when did you accept Christ? And then if there is a difference, and so far there has been, I think with everybody we've talked to, there's been, this is when I accepted Christ, and then this is when it really hit. When did you accept Christ, and then when did it really become real for you? And is there a difference
Rock,
and if
paper,
there's not?
scissors.
I
We've
know
yet
I'm
to
going
have
first.
anybody do that. We threatened the
got it.
first couple, and then it's like so.
Right? All right, so I was probably 9 or 10, and my grandmother made me go to church. There was no option. When I was with her on a Sunday, you in the car, sick, don't matter. You can go in your pajamas, but you're going. And so I went to church, and I remember the pastor having a call for salvation, and I thought, I really want that. I really do. And so I went down there and I prayed the prayer and made my grandma so happy. And then as you grow, I didn't really follow the ways of the Lord. So as a teenager, I would get rededicated every time I went to church.
Amen.
Every Wednesday night, it was like, let me do this again. Lord, I know. Let me do it again. And then when I was 25, I had just had my last child, and I was just I think it was postpartum, I think it was life, I think it was everything. I remember sitting on the floor of my living room, and the baby was literally a couple months old. My middle child had just had surgery, and he had a catheter in, and so it was like chaos in my house at all times. And I sat on that floor, and for whatever reason, leading up to that moment, the Lord had pulled me into His Word. So I'd been reading it every day, like I'd never read it before. And I remember sitting there with chaos of babies and thinking, there has to be something better than this, than what I'm feeling. And so I just asked the Lord. I said, I don't even know what I want from you, but I want you. And because I know there has to be better. And He flipped my life. I mean, flipped it upside down, and it was amazing. But I was a smoker.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord said, if you keep smoking, the devil's going to use that. It's going to be a foothold. He's going to pull you right back. And He did not lie, as we know. And so I went as far away from the Lord as I could possibly get. And then same baby, got sick, and Michelle, we had just had this traumatic thing with Cody in January, and then in March, Jayton had, as close to death as I'd ever seen him. Scared me to death, and the Lord orchestrates everything so perfectly. I was a waitress at the time, and one of the people that came to the restaurant would tell me every time she saw me, which was 3 or 4 times a week, all right, I'm praying for you. And she would tell me stories about her praying for her kids. And so I'm standing in that ER, and I'm remembering her prayer for her child, and I thought, it worked for her. And so I just said a prayer in my head, watching all the nurses and doctors come in and out and buzzing, and my life has not been the same since. Thank you, Jesus.
Amen.
And I've been sold out for Jesus ever since. I mean, it was slow. It took me about a month. But he got me, and I'm all in.
Amen. Awesome.
Okay. I was thinking yesterday, no, day before yesterday, I was thinking about it. I remember when I was 13. That's what I'm trying to say. I was 13. And me and my sister used to go to church with a girl. We would stay with her on Saturday night, and we go to church with her every Sunday morning. I remember we gave our life to the Lord, and then we got baptized and everything. But we was kids, just following the crowd. So I didn't really get saved then. And then in 2012 or 2013, it was 2012, I remember having this pull in my heart. Every time I would pass by here, I would be like, there's something about that church. There's something. And like, I grew up here because my grandma, like not every day. My mama didn't take us to church like that. But if I went and stayed with grandmama, she would bring us here. And then if we went and stayed with our granny, we would go to West End Baptist Church in Hampton. So, but there was just something that was always pulling me when I would drive by. And then me and Joey moved into where we live now, into the house we live in now. And I remember crying out to the Lord and saying, I don't know what I got to do, but I think I just want to serve you, Lord. And I really wanted to. So I started bringing my babies to church with me, and I didn't stop hanging around with the same people. I still allowed everybody to come to my house and do what they wanted to do. And as bad as I wanted to do it, I allowed that to stay in my life, so it drug me back into that lifestyle of drinking and everything. So I in 2018, when my babies got hurt and then everything happened with us, and Stephanie was relentless. She would not leave me alone. Is when I gave my heart to the Lord, and it stuck for me then. I knew, I quit hanging out with everybody. I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't even go, they would have things, and I'd be like, I'm not coming over. They'd be like, wow, because I can't, because I know me. If I go and I hang out with you, I'm going to be pulled back into that same lifestyle that I don't want to live anymore.
Right.
And so, 2018, here I am, and I love the Lord.
I think that's a point that oftentimes we make mistakes in is not changing the surroundings.
Yeah. For sure.
Where if I'm over here and I'm living for the world and I'm doing the things that I know that I shouldn't do, but I come to Jesus. But yet a lot of times I think a big fear of people accepting Christ is, I gotta give up my relationship.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a seasonal thing. Maybe that's for a time while you work on your relationship with the Lord and get stronger in the Lord, and then maybe it's not like I have to quit being friends with somebody.
Right.
But not putting myself in a situation. I always tell people, when it comes to temptation, it is way easier if you can keep it from temptation, period. Right. Make it just as hard on yourself as you can to be tempted.
Yeah.
It's easier than me trusting myself to make the right decision in a temptation. Yeah. And so I think maybe a pull from those relationships is a healthy, good thing. And again, it may be temporary. Now it may never go back over to when they're partying or whatever, or if you do take somebody with you.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure y'all have been. I've been to things. I've been.
She would make me go all the time.
It was a wedding rehearsal, and I'm sitting there, and everything, and they start breaking out the drinks and all that kind of stuff like that, and I'm comfortable around that kind of stuff. I don't know that everybody's comfortable with me and how comfortable I am around it. Because everybody gets real weird. I usually leave early, and I tell people, I say I'll go so that y'all can not feel like you got to be different in front of the preacher. Because if you feel like you got to be different in front of the preacher, you need to be different in front of God. But anyway, they put this cake in front of me, and it was a Budweiser cake, and it had obviously a hole for a can. And I'm like, isn't this supposed to have like a beer in it or something? It's someone's, it is. And they put it on, and I'm pretty sure someone snapped a picture. I said, that one may get me in trouble later. But because there comes a time when you can be around those things, and you be okay. Now, I did not have the temptation of drugs and drinking and things on those lines. So I've never had a problem being around that kind of stuff. Because it's never been a temptation that I've had to deal with.
Right.
But there's other things in my life that were temptations for me that you just, the best way is just try to make it impossible. And I think that's when we accept the Lord. I can trust him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't trust myself.
Yeah.
That goes to my question is these relationships. What's different between then and now, and how do you think those around you that used to hang around you feel about you now? It's a little bit different than the questions I've been asking.
We
but-
kind of hung around the same
Yeah.
people, so we
Well, and
kind of
mine was mostly family. Me and my
Yeah.
sister hung out every
And I'm
weekend.
adopted.
Yeah. And then, I mean, we have one
Like it or
friend
not.
that I used to hang out. She used to hang out too, and I don't even talk to her as much anymore. Like, she doesn't call me about anything. She doesn't invite me to anything, even things that don't have to do with alcohol or anything. We
Right.
just,
Yeah.
we kind of fell out. You know, not fell out, but like she drifted because this wasn't what she wanted. Now, my sister, of course, she loves me. She just, you know,
Right.
we don't,
Yeah.
she doesn't invite me to things anymore because I mean, she knows I don't hang out and do stuff like that. Now, I do get invited to things, but,
Yeah.
and I will go because it's not a problem for me. I can
Right.
sit with you all
Yeah.
day long. I'll talk about Jesus while you're getting drunk. I
Right.
don't care.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's probably why I
I
don't get
want
invited
to talk
nowhere.
about Jesus more while you're drinking.
Right.
And I will too. I'll pour out.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And that's kind of the
But
same
it's
for
well,
me.
and it's funny because sometimes people will call you even like I've had people call me in the middle of being drunk or drinking or whatever
Mhm.
and want to talk about Jesus, you know.
Yeah.
So you're just like
Yeah.
okay, and you do the best you can, you know. But
Yeah.
and that's you want to continue that conversation when they're not intoxicated, but it doesn't always.
And I think that lines up perfectly with what we were just talking about as far as, okay, so at the beginning, you couldn't go
Mhm.
around because
Yeah.
of temptation, but yet you grew in the Lord,
Mhm.
and now you can be
Oh yeah.
a sounding board to someone, ministering to someone while they're in the midst of
Right.
what used to be a problem.
Right.
And I think that's what Paul talks about when he talks about us maturing.
Mhm.
It's one of the things that so many people they don't ever mature.
Mhm.
It's and one of the reasons why is because they don't go to church, or if
Or
they
read the
do, they're just going to church just to kind of meet a mark,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or
A
meet a
check
standard.
mark.
It's just a
Or
checklist.
yeah.
Perfect. That's the word I was looking
Yeah.
for. Something like a checklist. It's just, okay. I can check that off my list. I went to church, but I see more people struggle when they're just trying to make church a checklist than if they. I mean, if you look at the church now, if you look at Hugginock now. For those of you, I think everybody in Hampton County at one point in time attended Hugginock. Everybody I talked to, we used to go to Hugginock, or I was at Hugginock when I was a kid. But to see the growth in people would be,
We've said it multiple times. They're totally different
oh yeah.
now than they were when we first got here. I mean, they're totally different people.
I don't have.
Oh,
to,
we were brand new. We were.
I don't have to fuss anymore. Really, I mean, you know, I we talk often about. Jesus telling the disciples, how long have I got to tarry with you? How long have I got to be here? I don't have those frustrations anymore. And those are striving when you're trying to go from place to place.
It's awesome when somebody has that. Ha ha! That's what you've been telling me.
yeah.
That's
Oh
why.
my
Okay.
goodness.
We walk away one.
Finally. Hallelujah.
But it is challenging. Can you? I mean, you get anywhere from 30, 40 people to churches that run hundreds to thousands, all coming to it's like, how are you supposed to do so? It has to be God for moves like that in the church when you have such a dispersed group of people. No man can do that. No man can stand up there and prepare a message that's going to hit everybody where they are and sing songs that everybody's going to want to worship to. It's God, and that's why when you go, I don't go hoping that a certain. I guess every now and again I go, man, I hope we sing that song today, or don't usually go thinking. Of course, I guess I never go hoping he's going to preach what I want to hear. But you when you take the expectation of what the people are going to do,
Yeah.
and you just put the expectation. I've adopted the philosophy, and I think it's the right thing. That for me is I'm not going to church on what I can give. I'm going to church on what I can give. I'm going to church to give God what He's due. And if God started the church, I don't understand why we would ever not want to be somewhere where God has got it. Where two or three gather together on promise booth. And I know you can do that in a home, but a lot of times we don't.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times we get sit around, watch football, we grill a steak, whatever we do. Usually the focus when you're in that kind of a setting is not to worship the Lord. The fellowship worship gives him glory.
Right.
You know, but it's not like we gather together like that to worship or to hear the word or, you know, anything like that. But
Yeah.
What, now that you've, for a few years now, you've settled, you've got comfortable, you kind of know, you know, where the Lord is leading you, what are you doing for the Lord?
whoa.
I hate when Rachel asks the questions. You
I
go
do
first.
too.
I'm feeling uncomfortable. She didn't ask me.
I think I'm coming out of a place. I think because I've really been thinking about this. I had so much stuff from my birthday last year. Something happened that kind of triggered something, and then to my birthday this year. It was a really horrible year. It was the second year after losing Jayton, and I think I kind of needed to walk through with some sackcloth and ashes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I needed to walk through that. And I don't even think it was so the Lord would know if I'm faithful. I think it was so I would know that I would remain faithful. Because even though I didn't do everything perfectly, I never walked away from him, and I thought that I would. Like, in the back of my head, I thought, you know, when I prayed for Jayton the day he passed away, the moment he passed away, I believed wholeheartedly that he was going to live. Even though I had a word from the Lord twice, actually. But I thought this, I believed it so much. And there's a part of my human brain that's like, yeah, but the Bible says when you pray, believe, and you'll receive, and you didn't receive, and you did believe. So what's that say about God? And I never had that question. That was the human thing, and I was always like, man, God's so incredibly good. Like, I think one of the things that God did for me when Jayton died was he gave me this supernatural gratitude. Because even now, even when I have those moments where I'm overwhelmed with grief, it's always covered by this gratitude. It's like, I really didn't do anything. I wasn't a great person. I didn't deserve to be his mom. Like, he loved me very well. It was like a blessing. And I can't get past that. So it's like I didn't do anything to earn him. So who's to say that I deserved him longer than I had him? What a grace that I had him for 22 years. And it's so weird to say that out loud. But that's how I feel. I feel like so blessed that I was his mom for 22 years. And that gratitude has gotten me through everything my mind thought that I would battle. And so I think at the end, I think around my birthday this year, a lot of things had happened that just kind of broke all of that off. And I think I needed to walk through that to say to myself, wait, I do serve the Lord. I do love him. So all the things the enemy would say to me that I was kind of stuck in, I needed to go through that in order to say, And so now I feel like I'm starting over again. That's my whole point. I think now, after I've walked through that, I feel like, okay, now I'm ready to go like full speed ahead. Whatever you ask me to do, I'm ready.
Right.
There is nothing holding me back. That's just kind of how I
You
feel.
almost went through like a grieving stage.
Yeah.
Not that you didn't grieve
Right.
from the time Jayton passed, but it did look different. If you were
It did.
if you looked at from the outside thinking, oh, she's grieving, you would say
Not really.
she's not showing signs.
Right.
You know, so many
Mhm.
times people are crying
Yeah.
or weeping or
Yeah.
you know, but you didn't have that
Yeah.
outside of
Right.
closed doors.
Exactly.
You were in church. You were praising the Lord.
I
you
think
were,
you three are the ones who really experienced my grief the most, because I would record a voice memo for the three of you, but I wouldn't be in the same room with you
Right.
and have those conversations.
Right.
That's a Stephanie thing,
Right.
you know, and so
Your-
I've always
yours
been
was
that
private.
way,
Yours,
Yeah.
yours was a very private grief.
but so covered in grace.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. I'm still saying it out loud is like, I still can't believe he's so good. Because I think I told all of you, there's like this, I had this moment where I'm like, this hurts more than anything has ever hurt in my whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is horrible. And it's amazing.
Right.
All at the same time. It didn't make sense to me. Like, how can this horrible and this amazing? Because what happened was, in the horrible, God was so much better. And I had never experienced that before, that in the midst of the hard.
Right.
I would always come to God as better than everything, but not simultaneously.
How do you think you would have been if you didn't have Jesus during that time?
Ooh.
If that would have happened when you weren't serving the Lord.
See, now, you're going to open up a can. Okay, listen. I have given this so much thought because I'm an analyzer. I analyze everything.
She really does.
In 2018, when Jayton got hurt, I was not serving the Lord. It was just somebody saying they were going to pray for me and sharing their prayers with me for their children that led me to pray for him. I stood in that ER by myself. By myself. I didn't have anybody. Watching my child struggle to breathe. And I didn't have anybody to turn to but the Lord. Man, he orchestrates everything so perfectly. Because that day, I could have lost him. But by the grace of God, he gave me 5 more years. Like, he gave me 5 years to prepare me
Right.
for the day. That is a goodness I don't have a definition for.
And when God sustained you through that, because I was thinking, and you just said it about how difficult that moment was. Hard to say in your face. I was sitting there thinking about that, and it's like when you could go through that and see the goodness of God in that.
Mm.
Well, now moving forward, what has the enemy got? It's okay. What there's probably absolutely nothing that a person could face that is any more devastating than the loss of their child. So now it's what do you got now? You know, because
Right.
we it's the most devastating thing that we could ever go through, and God sustained me through that in such a way. You know, the enemy might have just said, "I give up."
He didn't.
No, true. He keeps
Just so you
trying.
know.
He keeps trying.
He keeps doing things.
But
He does.
yeah. I mean, he's not gonna stop.
But I do think that it showed him I'll never walk away from the Lord.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because I always had a thought in the back of my head, look how many times I dedicated my life to you. And how many times I had to come back and dedicate my life to you again. Because I didn't just... I mean, I literally walked away every time. It was like I would walk outside of the church and this amazing moment, this incredible encounter with the Lord. Because every time you ask him for his love, he gives it to you.
Right.
You feel it.
Yeah.
There's a peace and a deep happiness that comes, you know? And so you feel that. And I would walk out of the church and go right back in to sin.
Yeah.
Like, you know, as a kid, there's not a lot of sin that you can really get into back in the day when our parents actually had leashes and kept us on them.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of that anymore, but
That's for sure.
but back then, you know, I mean, it would be like gossiping, you know, or holding my boyfriend's hand at a skating rink or something,
Right,
you know,
Right.
but it would still be sin.
Right.
And so I would constantly walk away from that. So I always had in the back of my head, I thought, I'll do that again. something bad will happen and I'll walk away from the Lord. I'll get aggravated and just give up.
Yeah.
And I always expected the worst out of myself. That's why I say I think that was why the Lord was like, look, you went through this and here you are.
Yeah.
Still in love with me.
And you're telling your story now
Yeah.
to others who may be going through something similar or something just like what you've gone through.
Yeah.